What's up, everybody? That's a great start to the show. What's up, everybody? It's the Wrestling Informer. I'm just so excited because it's Mania week, Billy. I'm Cav. I'm from the Lingus Mafia podcast. That is Billy Body. He is at K100 Informer and lockbetting.com. We have all your news and information, and we're going to get right to the news, Billy. But we said last week there was a third man in this group. We were going to have a third man come in. So let's welcome in the third man.
There we go. Let me add him in.
All right. The suspense.
Hey.
There we go.
There it is. Joe Cronin from the Joe Cronin Show. What is happening?
Man, I'm nothing. We're getting ready for WrestleMania, so I'm starting to get that. I'm starting to feel that power in me, build up.
You beat Girl on Cinema to the show because we already promoted a man. See?
Oh, really?
So that put you up 51-49, Joe. You won that one.
Well, after seeing Will Smith over the weekend, I feel like more of a man than ever. I don't know what it is.
I was checking in on that yesterday with you. Well, I was watching you talk about that live yesterday.
Yeah, I'm feeling more masculine than normal right now, so that's a good thing.
I sent Billy your show from the other week where you went off on Keith Lee because I was pissing myself. Listen, I sent it to as many people as I could. I was like, "You've got to hit. This is great. This is fantastic." So if anyone wants to look up Joe Cronin Show and hear his take on Keith Lee, because what is it? It's like 13 minutes or so. It's not even that long.
Yeah,
20.
You know what?
I enjoyed Joe's two shows this week that I listened to because he said he liked Keith Lee and then buried him for 18 minutes. Yeah. And then he said I actually like Will Smith and then buried him for 30 minutes.
That's his MO. That's what he likes to do. He goes,
I like this guy, but now I'm going to his life.
He's probably a sweetheart of a guy, you idiot. That's what I hear.
Yeah. I heard that Jericho podcast with him and I went, you know what? This is the problem. I finally figured it out,
You made me listen to that Jericho podcast. After that, I had to go find it. I was like, I got to hear this whole interview and listen to it.
I lost about 100 subs or something over the course.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I gained some though. So I think I gained a lot more evil people. So that's good.
It's amazing that somebody has they got such a for a guy like, I love him so much. How dare you say anything bad? I'm leaving.
Yeah. And
amazing.
What you see is me literally kind of change my feelings about him, like within that rant. Like that's me realizing, maybe this is partially his fault.
Well, what's crazy is that we've had guests on the show. We've had Drew McIntyre, Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo. We've had all these people on. And a show with us and one of our other buddies ripping apart Dean Ambrose talking to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Somehow through word of mouth, they ended up getting 77,000 hits on that show. And it was just us watching along. It was a watch along of Ambrose just killing himself with Steve Austin. And Steve Austin wanting to kill him.
Yeah, it's the pulling teeth episode. I guess that would be called.
You never know. I remember one of my worst videos ever got 2 million views, and I thought, oh no,
wow,
like this is the worst video ever. Like I'm just babbling and I'm all over the place, and it goes viral. It's like why? And then there's 2 videos before it that are well put together, and it's like, well, okay.
Where's the best place to find all your stuff? First off,
YouTube.com/Joe Cronin Show or Joe Cronin Show on YouTube.
There you go.
So just a quick one, Joe, just for people that don't know who you are. I'm in the same boat as you. I had a verified Twitter account.
Yeah.
I work in sports gambling. I'm on a sports gambling podcast and also in wrestling as well. My biggest mistake is that wrestling makes up 1% of my income and it used up like 60% of my energy instead. And that ended up with me getting my verified Twitter account canceled, where I could have sold thousands and thousands of packages to like gamblers and got them on my Patreon. I had 75,000 people on there, and these pieces of shit got me cancelled. So I had to start over again. That's a similar situation to what happened to you, right?
Yeah, I had 36,000 Twitter followers, and I said MTV hates white people.
That did it. That's
what took me out. Yeah, I tweeted at MTV because that whole thing was going on where they put out some cringy video, or whatever. And as a, just as a joke, obviously it says I'm not much of a comedian, but I tried to be funny. And I wrote MTV hates white people, and they were like, "No, you're okay, you're banned." I was perma banned, so so Bill was the same way as me. Like, I absolutely can't stand that. They basically are censoring artists and people who are, the girl on Cinema, is someone, you mentioned she might have come on, she's walking the line now too. Everybody's kind of angry at her, but I like these individuals that cause a bit of controversy, or these polarizing individuals. Like Bill is somebody I known for years has been like that. And I'm drawn to that. That's interesting to me. It's not this evil thing that people think it is. But
do you remember what I said? Do you remember that whole thing? Do you remember what I said?
To who?
To get in trouble.
I think the main
was about women. Something about women. I remember.
Yeah, I think the main thing that ended up getting up Saturn's nose, and him getting everybody to cancel me, was the fact I said, I don't care how much WWE shoved this down my throat. I go to shows and I see everybody taking a piss. Mm-hmm. I'll always rather watch women be strippers than wrestlers.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was the end of me. So
if I was actually known, I would have gotten canceled a long time ago, but I'm very under the radar. So I say every word in the book on my show, but no one hears it. So
we'll help you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the rub to get canceled, and I mean, it's easy for us. I mean, I've been doing it for 10 years and barely have that following. But you have your hardcore group that's like ride or die forever, that is in your humor realm. Like, they have the same sense of humor. So those are the people that it's like family. And then if you get those little fringe that come in, because I used to do just wrestling stuff, and then it would graduate into just anything I wanted to talk about. And then we were like, I'm tired of talking about wrestling. So we didn't speak about wrestling at all. Brought it back semi-recently, do a separate show, just wrestling, but it's one-liners and ball busting is what I do. But it has gotten me subscribers, because it's like, wow, all right, they want to hear that. And then I'm like, I feel my actual talent show that I do, the good show, nobody cares about. It's like, why would they want to hear the wrestling stuff when I'm, it's better off when I'm not talking it. But it sells. People want to hear about wrestling.
Yeah, I think I have the same trouble. I think we all kind of do. I think we all have this, like, hey, we want to talk about wrestling. We know about that, so that's an easy in. But then there's that side of all of us, I think, that enjoyed the entertainment shows of back in the day, podcasts, Howard Stern type of stuff. We all like that. So you want to kind of shift it that way. That's what I always wanted to do as well. So, yeah, I mean, I think everyone's got that thing where you can do more than wrestling, but you're kind of using wrestling as the
Howard's not Howard now, is he?
No, now he's I don't know what he is now.
Yeah, it's hard to let Joe. I got a Howard tattoo, and not his face. I have the logo, the fist logo on my calf, and I've been a fan forever with Howard, and like influenced wise, obviously by Howard, and just everything from the '90s that you watched with him, and all the Channel 9 show and all that good stuff. And well, it was almost pretty much after the Artie stuff happened. It was like I'm like listening to sports radio instead. I'll tune into Chicago regular radio to listen to stuff instead now.
Yeah, I'm the same way. The local the sports talk here is much more entertaining. And do we all have blue eyes? Because we're all the devil.
We are. We're devils. I don't know. Billy's, are yours real or no?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say I don't know if his are real. I mean, I know his nose and his teeth aren't. So. We should get into the news first. And
we should get into the news because I want you to look at our YouTube channel and find the show and see some moron's going to put up the minute that we start talking about wrestling. They'll go, these guys didn't get down to the wrestling till 10:34. Like
I brought pearls that they can clutch in the meantime. They could hear them. So what do we got for news, Billy?
All right, so I didn't have this on my list, but I got a news story today. So it says here, Dave Meltzer calls out current WWE name for giving him false information. So he's now making this the reason why he's been wrong about everything.
It's his fault. Awesome. He told me.
So this story says, this story says that there was a time, I'm going to say, remember when Eric Bischoff was general manager of SmackDown? So I was getting texts from a chain of people that were giving me information that was completely false, and they still are. One of them was so ridiculously false that it was a joke, and a couple of others actually could have been true, but they weren't. I checked it out, and of course it's not there. And they left their numbers on the thing. So I went to one of my friends in WWE and said, and there were messages from, and I'm reading, it's not I can't read, I'm reading it how he talks, like, which is, and they were messages that were from people in WWE to Vince, and it was a 203 number, one of them. I go, is the 203 number Vince? And they go, no, that's not Vince's number. But they tell me these people who are giving me, but they tell me who these people were who are giving me false information. So in Meltzer speak, he was given a chain of like conversations with someone told him a 203 number was Vince. He checked it out with someone and he said, no, these is false information, but I recognize all the other numbers. That's what he's trying to say, but he can't speak properly. I'm going to say who they were. I'm not going to say who they were. Sorry, that's me being an idiot. But they were scumbags. They're stupid scumbags because it's like, I guess they're not going to get really mad at me when they hear this, but they're certainly going to know that I said it because I texted them back and said, you guys are scumbags, by the way. You know I'm not a fool. It was some of the stupidest stuff, but whatever. They tried to do it, whatever. One of them ended up being fired before they could ever worry about it anyway. The other one is still there, but whatever. He knows who he is. It was very easy to find out who the chain was. It was like a piece of cake, actually. I don't even know. So
they just want to dupe him.
Because the guy's still completely wrong about everything. Like, we pick holes. I mean, I'm never wrong, and I come on here and give you all the correct stuff. And sometimes it's an easy show for me because 20 minutes of our show is telling you that the story that he's just put out is about to be wrong, such as, do you remember when Seth Rollins was beating Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble? And Brock Lesnar was beating Roman Reigns at day one, and Seth Rollins was beating Big E, and all this made up that wasn't going to happen.
Twists even to this week, Bill twists and turns. That's what he said.
Even this week, even today, he's covering his back by saying, "Oh, it's supposed to be Cody," but I'm hearing from people that Cody's thinking about backing out and all this stuff. It's like, what are you talking about?
Like he just decided to back out.
Yeah, I know it's been Cody for 3 months, which is what I've been saying here. Like, how?
I'm still praying you're wrong. I'm praying they go, you know what? Too many people know. Let's do something else. I really am hoping he just shows up Monday. I don't want this on Mania.
Why?
I don't like it if it's terribly obvious like that. Like my buddy Suit Williams tells me, he goes, I'm more convinced now than ever that it's going to be The Undertaker. And I was like, I know it's crazy. I go, I'd rather that be. It would be more of a surprise. It would not be expected that Undertaker came out and the lights just go off and it's 2 seconds worth of a match. Who cares?
Listen, the thing is, the problem is that you're in this circle and in this community. If you're not in this community, then it is still a big surprise. And they're unlike AEW, they're not booking for this shitty little community. They're booking for the people that don't know. I shield my son from everything, so like I'm still going back to him, going, "Oh, who do you think it's going to be? Do you think?"
Really?
I mean, sometimes he said something that's better than what it's going to be. So I'm trying to like make a big. He goes, "Oh, I hope the Fiend's coming back." It's like, no, it's worse than that. Like, it's not as good as that. But like, you know, I'm throwing out guesses to him, like, I heard it's going to be Shane McMahon and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I shield him from it. So when it happens on Saturday, he'll have a genuine reaction to it. We won't. But even in the middle of it, when they said they signed Cody and these dirt sheets were saying stuff like, "Oh, negotiations have hit a snag," the difference between me and them is that I come on the show, do the 4 or 5 bits, and then we fill it with conversation, and then he's complain about it that we only did like 10 minutes of news. But that's the thing. Like, I'm happy to do 10 minutes of news. I don't have a website where I have to put 5 or 6 stories a day to keep my web traffic going. This is not my primary income. My primary income is sports gambling. So when I open my mouth and give you wrestling news, it is actually going to happen. It's always correct. And that's because I don't need to fill this. There was no snag. There was no issue in negotiations. Cody Rhodes is left to come here. He didn't sign his contract. That's it. You're going to see him on Sunday. That's the end of the story.
Joe, do you think 100% are you locked in that it's going to be Cody, or do you think they might do something like Shane shows up and then he's not the guy and then Cody does show up? Anything off maybe?
Yeah, I've thrown out different things like, okay, maybe he'll go, it's Shane, and then Seth beats him, and then Vince goes, oh, by the way, it's a gauntlet match. I didn't tell you. And then he brings out someone else, and then he brings out, and finally it's Cody. But the other thing with Shane...
I said that to you earlier on the phone, remember?
Oh, did you guys? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, he said that to me yesterday. He was hoping for this, yeah.
Yeah, so I was talking about a gauntlet match. That actually won the poll I put up on Twitter recently. But also, Shane McMahon... Maybe Shane's there for the Undertaker. Maybe Shane's going to come out and go on a rant or something, and then the Undertaker come out tombstone him. But even if that doesn't happen, maybe Shane's just there to throw people off a little bit to keep us doing this, what we're doing right now. But clearly, to me, it's been Cody, like you said, since day one. And there's rumors about things, but like you said about Meltzer, is that guy? He looks at a lot of obvious stuff, I feel like, and then creates a news story based off of it, like you're saying. Because he's got to shuffle out 10 or 12 stories. But Rumble was hilarious when he said, there's going to be major twists and turns, and it's like nothing happened. Like I think we predicted the whole Rumble, almost most people. So it was ridiculous.
My thought on when there's any thought of it not being Cody is only because I know Vince does that little twist turn, as Meltzer would say, at Mania more than it. Like there's always that surprise type of thing. And when Seth is going, oh, it's nice to play with rumors when everybody's chanting Cody, Vince, I would think, has to hear this and go, well, everybody knows. We gotta do something at least to do a little bit.
But at the same time, you can't book a surprise, which is a letdown. Do you see what I mean? You can't say, oh, they all know it, so let's book something worse. I mean, if they're gonna have the Undertaker go out there, or the Fiend is coming back, or whatever, then yeah, that's different. But you cannot go higher than Cody at this point, like especially when people want that. So, I mean, you could definitely do Joe's gauntlet thing, and I still think that's going to be on the table for you. But let me give you. Sorry, go on.
There's one other thing too, real quick. My other theory was The Rock. If he doesn't show up at the end, right? What if The Rock couldn't show up? What if they're not doing that at all? And what if Shane is there to get Seth so Cody can face Roman at the end of the night? But I don't know about that. But that's just something I mentioned the other day too.
Billy, Billy. You don't think Rock's there at all, right?
No, I don't think he's coming to Dallas. I think he's definitely at 39 because I feel everything's locked in towards getting towards that match. I mean, they could have had the match this year, and it was down to the whole change of the XFL, and it just suited both parties. It suited WWE because they want The Rock when he's available to do as much television as possible. And he told them straight out, like, I can still do Mania, but I'm going to start looking for other work because I've already got this whole time free because I was supposed to be doing XFL. So next year, while he's doing XFL, he's still going to have that free time. So that's when he's going to do it. But I think they want him on television, and Fox want him on television as much as possible. So they've gone down a different direction. The interesting background of that is, I don't know if people know this, but this is the second time that Rock and Roman has been postponed, or the first time it got completely cancelled. Do you know back at WrestleMania 29 when Rock lost to Cena that he was supposed to come out the next day and say goodbye to people? He's gonna be going away for a bit, whatever. And Brock was supposed to beat out of him in New York on Raw, and Brock Lesnar was supposed to lose to The Rock at WrestleMania 30, and at WrestleMania 31. Rock was supposed to put over Roman instead of Brock Lesnar.
Jeez,
so
a long time ago.
So we got Brock Lesnar here for 7 more years than what was the intention, because he wasn't supposed to get another contract. He was supposed to just lose to The Rock at WrestleMania 30, and that was supposed to set up at WrestleMania 29. But he broke his ribs or tore a hamstring as well in the Cena match and didn't turn up for Raw. And they didn't even know he wasn't going to be a Raw, because the ending of Raw was The Rock getting attacked by Brock Lesnar, and they said, "Where's The Rock?" And they were like, "Oh, he's got on a plane. He's out of here." He didn't even tell them. So they ended up putting Money in the Bank cashing on the show instead, because Raw looked terrible and Dolph Ziggler had to win the belt on the fly. So that's the background of this Rock Roman match. So I don't think that will get cancelled again. I genuinely do think that will happen here. So let me just give you these other stories, and we'll move on to the Mania preview. So onto that Rollins thing. If you thought it looked weird that they released that during the day, and that wasn't on Raw, where it was supposed to be Rollins hijacking the show, that was all changed over the weekend. So Rollins was supposed to come in and hijack Raw, And then Vince was supposed to give Rollins the role of hosting WrestleMania, at which point he would abuse his power as the host and then say that he wanted to have a match on the Saturday. That was what was supposed to happen. It wasn't supposed to be this thing filmed to air on Monday. It was supposed to be this thing to where Rollins hijacked Raw, and they would come out and say, you've got a meeting with Vince McMahon tomorrow if you get out of the ring. And that's where he was supposed to be announced as the host. But all of that changed. To add to that, another thing that changed, and this is ridiculous, and this is 100% true, you can go and have a look. Vince McMahon, his ego is so big that the way that when they filmed it and aired it during the day and he watched it back, it said that he was meeting Seth Rollins at 8:45. When it aired on Raw, they edited it to 9:05 because Vince McMahon was livid, and he turned around and goes, it makes me look weak that I met him earlier than 9 a.m. when he was supposed to be there.
Oh, man.
So he goes, if I tell someone 9 a.m., I would never meet them. I would never see them at 8:45. He went, why have you put that in? And he had that changed between it going out on .com and airing on television afterwards. And another thing I want to add before you guys discuss that is that the reason why you're seeing all this Vince-ness, this Vince involved with Rollins and Vince involved in this McAfee thing, and the reason why you're even seeing Shane McMahon back in the fold this weekend so early, and why you saw Triple H announce what he announced, it's all centering around the Vince McMahon documentary. He's a family man who gets on with his son and his daughter and his son-in-law, and that's all going to be integrated into the documentary. He's a guy that goes and works out at 3 a.m. He's a guy that can still get in the ring, and he's a guy who's involved in all the storylines. So everything that you're seeing, and this extra emphasis on Vince and these Vince T-shirts that are going to be coming out this week and everything, it's all centered around the documentary where they're going to make him look like he's an absolute lunatic who's involved in the storylines, the television. He trains like a maniac. He writes. He does everything. It's all exaggerated for the documentary to make him look superhuman. For that. So that's why you're seeing all this Vince-ness on television.
They'd rather him. He'd rather look like a guy who makes people wait and is late to have meetings than
you know what?
A nice person to be kick him early.
That's probably part of it too. And what's crazy is that WWE, for this documentary to go through, they asked for right to copy. For anyone that don't know what that means, it means that they need to see it before it goes out. Like that's one of the things that they negotiated. But I'm not sure that they know what looks bad and what looks good. I mean, in Vince's mind, he may think it looks good for them to turn around and edit something where it says, oh, you saw Rollins at 8:45, and he turns around and goes, 9:05. I would never see anybody early. Like, I'm the one with all the power. And he may think that looks good, but to the people looking on the outside, they may think that looks bad. So it's only going to be their opinion what makes Vince look good. But I don't think that they have a good grasp on public perception, to be honest with you.
He's if he wants to look good or powerful and making him wait, meanwhile he's letting the guy jump up and down on his desk like a fool. That's
well,
okay.
Then that adds weight to Joe's idea, because with Rollins jumping on the desk and Vince giving him that look, maybe he is going to get shafted. Maybe he is going to face three guys. I mean, Joe, did you say that after the desk thing, or have you had this theory for a while?
Yeah, I think I had it before. Yeah, because that was Monday, right? So yeah, I had it before that. Yeah, that where I was like, okay, but that definitely helped it out. Like, okay, this is what you said they were gonna do is what I thought was gonna happen. And he basically told us all that I'm gonna take over Raw, basically. And yeah, it would make sense because then they can get all these other names out there. They can troll everybody a little bit. And I guess then they can be, oh, it is Cody. You know, they can make us think, oh man, it's Shane. Are you serious? But then Seth has to beat all these guys, right, to get to Cody. And now when he loses to Cody, I don't know, does that take something away then from Cody? It's just, because, hey, wow, you beat a guy who just, beat two or three other guys before you. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see
What do you think about this documentary? Have you heard about this documentary, and how do you think this is going to come off?
I thought that they'd wanted Vince to be in a match or in the ring at some point. I'd heard that a couple times, and then I started believing that in my head. Like, oh, that makes sense.
I still believe that will happen.
Yeah, this is Billy's whole theory. He's held firm to it on Conan, where they were like, they stuck him to a board and said, say yes or no, and he is still saying Vince, like his prediction is that Vince is involved with this McAfee thing, that he's actually going to get in the ring And you think he can possibly be the guy who pins him?
It's just because I know a documentary narrative, which is he's going to be portrayed as a psychotic person, like this superhuman who goes and does weights at 3 a.m. in the morning and can still get in the ring and still get up after and still have 4 hours sleep. And I know the narrative is superhuman. There's nothing more superhuman than doing that. There's nothing more superhuman than I'm going to go and do the McAfee show, and then I'm going to have this storyline with Rollins, and I'm going to be on television with Austin Theory, and I'm going to have a match too, and my son-in-law's going through this, and like they don't want the storyline of the documentary isn't going to be that he doesn't get on with Shane. I mean, he can have a row with Shane, but then obviously, you could repair that. Like, what if the storyline is that him and Shane fell out at Royal Rumble and then they made up and they have a big hug at WrestleMania? Like, what if that's an overriding episode of the documentary? Like, we don't know how much is fact and fiction at this point.
So what else do you have? Do you have one more story, or you have a couple?
Yeah, I have a couple, but I'm going to breeze through. So one of the things that WWE that they made a big point of, they don't really talk about AEW too much, but one of the things that was mentioned about AEW some time ago was how ridiculous that women's match was on Rampage. It was ridiculed and used as an example of this is what we don't do. You remember when Bunny and Anna Jay and everybody were bleeding,
cutting themselves,
and there was a point where at that point it was very much highlighted that we will do this when we need to do this. There is a time and a place to do this kind of wrestling, and it needs to be a one-off time, and it needs to be very, very like worthy of this, because that's the only time you do it. We don't spill blood left and right. And to make a point of this, a while ago, I'm talking about 2 months ago, maybe, it was decided that the Roman Reigns Brock Lesnar main event of WrestleMania on night 2 would be a point where they would showcase when and where people would bleed. And so that is what you need to expect on Sunday. That is going to be the point where, and it all came about from the AEW thing where it was like, this is what we don't do, and this is why we don't do it. And when we do it, and this is not just going to be blood, or this is going to be kicking out of things. This is going to be when they do the AEW match that they laugh at AEW for doing. They say they're basically saying that when you do what AEW do, it needs to be done in this time and place, and that time and place has been highlighted as this Sunday's main event, and that's been there for a while. So you're going to see a very serious attempt to have the best WrestleMania main event that you've ever had, which is going to involve kickouts and bloodshed.
What are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, I think they're going to need that. I mean, after all the stuff with Roman and Brock in the past, I mean, they're going to have to throw everything at this thing to be better than all of those moments. Plus, they're going to have to leave Brock looking pretty strong when, I believe Roman's, winning with the belts. Fox wants, everybody wants Roman on their show, and now he can go to both shows, with both belts. So, yeah, I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I like it too. And like, as they say in the old time, the blood feud. And this is really it. This is the longest thing. And we've seen it a couple times, but they've always been tied together. So they've been really at each other's throats. So a little bit of blood, and it makes it more special. I do get that it is more special when blood does not happen every match, like where we did see AEW. I think it was pay-per-view. There's blood every match. And you were like, all right, it's almost like TNA having the cage match every match. You go, it's not. You got to, don't blow me every day. A little bit special. So
that was a hilarious match with those women, though. One thing is I laughed at it. It was it was like the one with the weird botch right off the top rope to the outside. The table didn't break.
Oh, yes.
Bounced off.
Yeah, they were just blood. They were all bleeding. They all cut the top of their head and they were bleeding everywhere. So the last story I'm going to do is the one from last week that we saved, and then we'll move on to Mania. So in regards to this unification. Now, internally, there's a lot of questions being asked about the unification, and they're not getting any answers. Now, one of the key things about the unification, and the key confusing point, is the fact that the idea of the UK pay-per-view on September the 3rd was for Drew McIntyre to win a world championship with crowds. The way they were going to go about this was to have Drew McIntyre feud Roman Reigns after WrestleMania, lose, and then lose again, with the stipulation being one of those stipulations where if you lose to me again, you cannot challenge me again, because the whole thing would be Roman would just about get through by the skin of his teeth, and he doesn't want to face Drew again. So he says, this is your last chance. Once that last chance had expired, Drew McIntyre would go on to win Money in the Bank in Las Vegas, and he would do the good guy thing where he would turn around and say, I'm not going to be cashing in my Money in the Bank behind your back. I'm going to challenge the champion that I'm allowed to challenge, which is the guy from Raw, whomever that may be, and I'm going to challenge you in the UK. So that keeps Roman out of the equation. It means he gets to keep his belt, and Drew McIntyre still wins the world title and goes back to Raw after having the feud with Roman, so Roman goes through another opponent. That has been planned for a while. A lot of my sources in the UK know that on September the 3rd, Drew McIntyre is supposed to be winning the championship. Now nobody knows if that's going to happen, and there's no answers to the question, what happens with Corey? I mean, the easy answer may be still facing Roman, but you're losing. But everything after WrestleMania is still advertised to be Drew and Roman. So there isn't really a lot of answers to this, but it's just very interesting that that was a 100% thing that was going to happen. And also, if you do go with the one belt unification and you're heading towards Roman and Rock, what does Cody do in the meantime? What does Lashley do in the meantime? What does Drew McIntyre do in the meantime? What does everybody do? Do they just, and what did they just lose to Roman Reigns? Is that the year Roman Reigns goes through Drew, Cody, Rollins, and Lashley throughout the next calendar year? I mean, what do you do?
What do you think, Joe?
I think they have to wait until there's somebody big enough that can overtake Roman, and they don't have that, and they still don't have that, and they don't know if they're going to have that. Say Cody Rhodes comes in and he has success and he builds up this following and people go crazy for him for whatever reason. Well, maybe that's your guy, or maybe he loses to Roman early on but comes back later. But yeah, until somebody can be bigger than Roman, I don't think they're ever going to take this belt off of him. And even when he faces The Rock, then it's what do you do with the belt then? Is The Rock going to win a title? So he's probably going to beat The Rock too. But you're looking for that next guy, that next face, that next big name. And if you don't have that, I think they're going to leave. I think they're trying to find that until they can get to The Rock so he can then beat The Rock so that then the next face or baby face that's over can be the one to challenge Roman once he's been built up for a year or two. But they're just kind of have to hope that something like that happens. Otherwise, Roman's not going to lose this belt.
Well, for that belt, when the storyline was supposed to be having two titles, the second title was supposed to go to McIntyre in England, right? It's going to be in Wales now. The second title was supposed to go to McIntyre in the UK. And that would be your title that gets passed around to your Rollins, your Lashley's, and Cody's. And that would be a belt that they can win after they lose to Roman. This main title at the moment, that's being earmarked for the likes of Gabe Stevenson and Braun Breaker after the whole Rock thing is done. They're going to see where those two guys are at after the Rock loses to Roman Reigns. That, I know, is internally the plan. As for the guys that currently exist, your Cody's and your Drew McIntyre's, they're supposed to go for the second belt, which after Sunday won't exist anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can hold off the unification. The unification is happening because Nick Khan has spoken to the sponsors and everybody, and they want to have Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and these main event guys on both channels. They don't want to continue to appease Fox and USA. And the only way to do it is to have your main guys being able to go everywhere. But it's also going to upset a lot of people when Cody and Drew and Rollins can't win world championships for 3 or 4 years, which is what's going to happen.
I'm hoping that they just unify this. I don't like that there's 2 world titles. It's always bothered me, and it's hard. But then you have your, what we used to say back in the day of how has Mr. Perfect never been a champion, and how is Jake the Snake or Roddy Piper never been a champion? The reason why they weren't champions is because Hulk Hogan was always the champion, right? And rarely changed. If we had the world heavyweight title back in the 80s, then Savage and Hogan, or Hogan and Warrior could have been champions together. But that didn't happen. That's why Mr. Perfect's isn't an ex-world champion.
maybe that's why Cody's job will be to elevate the IC belt again, and they'll get back to that. Maybe they've realized let's go back to the Intercontinental Championship.
I would like if they did
have you
something
seen
like
where that belt? Have you seen where that belt is at right now, though?
I don't even know
anymore.
Well, Billy got into it. Well, he one-sided it, but I was like, okay, we could tell Ricochet to go sign some autographs and just give this belt to someone else to build it up. And for me, as stupid as it sounds, the way the belt looks to me matters to me. Like, I hate this new one. I like the old school, and I want the old tag belts back, the Demolition Days. I want that belt back. I'm now decently okay with the World. I'm still not, but if any of them are staying, that's the one I would say okay then. But I'm a Winged Eagle guy. I like the old school. These are the belts, but this new IC belt looks like, and like I can't imagine Cody being the world champion. I don't see it. It's like they're on that other level. And the way you were saying, Billy, the old days, there's this high level, and then there's this next one. It doesn't mean as much to me if Macho was world champ and someone else is universal champ. You're always like, to me, it's the WWE champion is the champion. And it was the same with that WCW World Championship. And I always was like that. For me, that was a secondary belt. And a little bit of who holds it does help, because I feel Roman is more the champion because of what he's done, track record, longevity. So that belt has a little more.
But the lineage is with the other one, right?
Yes, 100%, 100%.
Right. All right. So we're going to do the Mania preview. So I'm going to allow you and Joe to mainly talk about Mania. I'll chip in here and there, and here's the reason why. Tomorrow, me and Cav are doing the gambling preview of the WrestleMania card.
Can you believe they could bet on this, Joe? He bets on wrestling. I'm like, something is going to happen. He could gamble in England. It's not fair.
Well, I mean, what do we have?
It's in the U.S. too.
We can do it here. We can do it on FanDuel or whatever.
I can't. Yeah. California, God forbid you do anything.
Yeah, you can't do
so
that.
Whack. It's so whack.
So yes. So sorry, go on, Joe.
No, I said he'll be gone soon. Living in California, we're gonna say we're gonna just break off the U.S. and float into.
I'll be my own country after a while.
Escape from L.A.
Great weather though.
Yeah.
So here's how the week. So here's how the week's going to work. So we're going to be putting out a show tomorrow on the Sports Gambling Podcast and the Dirty Sheets, which is going to be the gambling preview. So I'm going to go through all the betting lines, and I'm also going to go through all those fun markets as well, because there's loads of prop markets as well now they've released, like how many stars the matches are going to get, and how many minutes they're going to last, and how many stunners is Austin going to hit, and is he going to have a match or not have a match, and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm going to run through all of that tomorrow with Cav. And then on Saturday, we're going to do a last-minute preview. And that's going to be on the Dirty Sheets and the Dirty Sheets YouTube channel. And we're going to do that live. So for all the people that come on here with comments and you hate Cav, and Cav's the worst host ever, and I'm full of... And
I'm a giant mark, apparently, too. I don't know, because I have a sweatshirt, I guess. I'm like... meanwhile, I wouldn't stand in line to get
with your hair. Quit playing with your hair.
You quit playing with your hair, Billy. That's always the...
Hey, if I had his hair, I'm going bald now. I always had long hair. I would play with that hair all day. I'd molest it live on the shows. Oh, it'd be great.
So we're going to do that show live on Saturday after NXT, okay? So that's what we're doing for the week. So I'm going to let Cav and Joe mainly take the floor here and talk about the WrestleMania card.
All right, I'm reading off the matches here in no particular order, but this will be the Saturday lineup, which I don't think this will be the first match, but actually Raw, I don't think Raw was horrible this week. It did drag for me only because it's 3 hours, but I did feel that they did a little bit of something this week to help. And it starts off here with the Raw Women's Championship, Becky Lynch, who's the champion, against Bianca Belair. This added a little bit of a tidbit to it with Becky getting her hair cut, where I was 100% obviously thinking Becky was losing her title. The way this ended now, I go, maybe not. And then I'm hoping maybe even if Bianca does win this, afterwards we get Bayley running in and chopping this damn hair off finally, because I've had this idea since before Bayley was hurt that it was going to be a hair match, and that's apparently where they were going. So maybe that continues finally.
I thought it would have been funny if she chopped her hair off on that episode, and then Bianca, during the match at some point, You know what I mean? She could have gone under the ring or something and grabbed her chopped off hair and then beat her with the chopped off hair. Like,
still use it after all.
Right?
Right?
She cut her off. She cut off her head. She still has it. Yeah, I would have laughed at that.
That actually would work, I think, too.
I think it would be kind of funny. The crowd would cheer. Maybe she used a chair earlier when the referee got knocked over or something. Yeah, that would be hilarious. Yeah, Becky Lynch is the champ. I think Bianca Belair is winning, and so I think this is her like little payback of this story. They tried to make everyone mad by making her lose the belt quickly, and this is sort of the payoff for all the backlash and whatever. So Bianca will win. And that's about it. I'm kind of bored by the whole thing at this point, but
I was more bored until Monday with the haircut.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, they should have cut it off.
Becky the Barber. That's what we were calling her.
I did think that too, but when I look at this card, and it feels like to me that Steve Austin's going to go on last, and then you have 2 women's title matches on the card. How do you flip the belts? Like you flip every women's title. None of them are the main event, and also you then have, I imagine, Sasha Banks and Naomi winning the tag belt. So every woman's title is changing apparently, according to the odds as well. I just feel that you have the WrestleMania Backlash show coming up the next month, rather than Becky losing the belt in the opener, or let's say Charlotte and Ronda is the opener, and Ronda wins the belt in the first match. Does Becky lose the belt in match 4, and then you have those 2 title changes in match 1 and match 4? It just seems like it would be lost, and it seems like you could do it as the main event next month. That's the only issue I have.
Yeah, somebody's got to lose. Somebody in there has to lose. I get what you're saying. That makes sense. It makes sense. It's something to do. Maybe Becky will cheat or get disqualified or whatever, and it's a forget about it. We'll get back to that later. That makes sense.
All right, the Miz and Logan Paul versus the Mysterios. My thought is that the good guys here will win, but I think Logan Paul will become a babyface. Like Miz will do something too much, and he'll be like, "Hey, man, I'm not cool with that," and try to get him as a fan favorite a little bit because he's a famous guy.
Yeah, he'll blame him for the loss, like if there was something at the end or towards the end, like it's your fault. I told you what to do and you didn't listen. That sort of thing. Yeah.
So he gets knocked out then at the end by Logan Paul.
Yeah, they go with the Mike Tyson WrestleMania 14 knockout. Yep.
You go. Billy, what do you think?
I don't think celebrities lose. I don't think celebrities don't lose at WrestleMania. So I bet you celebrities have got a streak like the Taker if we look back on the show. I mean, LT won, for God's sake. So yeah,
LT beat a long veteran in the business.
The Miz will take the pin. That's all. The Miz will take the pin.
Yeah, he might actually get knocked out and then get pinned. And so there's no confrontation. Like there's confrontation during the match where he just knocks him out, and they're not like arguing after it's over.
I often take hints from the television, and I feel that the Mysterios made their comeback on Monday rather than WrestleMania. Did you see how on top? If you see how on top the Mysterios finished on television on Monday, it doesn't seem like, obviously, okay. They got their sort of self-esteem back, like by doing that. And then I feel the finish of this match is maybe the Miz going too far and Logan Paul turning on him after they win, like just carrying on beating them up after the bell or something or whatever. Or they beat him up after the bell and Logan Paul holds Mr. Dominic up or something, and he gets out of the way and Logan Paul gets punched in the face, and then he punches the Miz back or something like that. I just always subscribe to the philosophy that celebrities don't lose. So
I thought they were giving us little clues with the whole when the Cleveland thing was happening, because it was like Paul wasn't 100% with it when it was like, oh, it's my hometown. So Rollins versus the to be announced that we talked about a little bit earlier. I thought this would have been good if it started off the show, because it starts off with a big, bang here. Like we said, I guess we're saying whoever is going against Rollins at the end, if it is Gauntlet and everything, and if it's Cody Rhodes, that Cody's winning this. And I do like the idea of a Gauntlet, because that does save face for Rollins, that he got beat after. so much time, because if he's supposed to go against Roman soon, like me and Billy were saying, how do you make this guy a little bit strong, and he's losing all these matches, but not like it really matters in the grand scheme of things for wrestling. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, because they can keep it going now. Hey, yeah, you beat 3 other guys, or I had to beat 2 other guys before you. And now he's got this feud, and now they can continue, like you said, to the other WrestleMania Backlash and things like that. Oops,
yeah. Go ahead, Billy. What do you think?
Yeah, obviously, I think Cody comes out and beats him. But this is the thing. As we're talking about the show, already as we're breaking it down, it's like, oh my God, like Bianca wins the title at last. Oh my God, Cody Rhodes makes his debut. Oh my God, Logan Paul turned on the Miz. Oh my God, Ronda Rousey's won the belt too. And oh my God, at the end, Austin's coming. That's not how a wrestling show works or is structured. Yeah. So like
I'll jump ahead and say I think Charlotte's keeping that belt. And I'm only saying that because that Ronda Rousey, that promo the other day, that pissed me off. I was like, all right, she doesn't want to be here. She's just here for WrestleMania now, I feel like. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but that was uninspired to me.
I don't even know why she changed her mind, where she said, the SmackDown Women's, or she said the Women's SmackDown Championship. I'm like, just continue on. Bury through. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to put the opposite. But when she just said SmackDown Champion, so okay, well, now you're going crazy here. Here's a match that everyone has been waiting for. Only one guy on the screen, I think, and that's Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. They're trying. I saw them. There was a glimpse of this is personal, and then he never went into why it's personal.
He needs to kill him with the sword.
I'm hoping. I want him to be a Godfather and melt down the sword into a chain, so it's gone now. Yeah. I want this sword gone for Drew's sake. This is horrible, and I keep thinking, because they keep going, it's named after his dead mother. It has to be disgraced somehow. I don't know if Corbin's on the sword or what's going on, but something has to happen to get rid of this thing, because it's just, I hate that he carries this.
I melted down the sword and I gave it to my friend who has a piercing shop. In fact, a part of that sword is on me right now. And if we weren't on TV, I would introduce you to Prince Albert myself.
Or Prince Angela. That's what
there you go. He melted it down and made a ring or something. That's great.
Oh, see, that would be great. Now your mother will always be here with me.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But this isn't the 90s or 97. It's not happening. What do you think? I think we're all obviously Drew wins this, because they make a big deal about Happy Corbin is undefeated.
You know what, though? You're saying it. You can't have everything be happy. I mean, if you're going to make Drew lose something and go on to WrestleMania Backlash, I mean, this is a DQ, 2-on-1 situation. Then Drew chases everybody with the sword and we do this all over again. I want to die.
Don't run with scissors, impale himself. What do you think, Billy? Have you been told a secret on the side? He goes, guess what? I'm winning this match.
Yeah, no, the only thing I spoke about was, the only conversation I had was to make it more personal, because in real life, these two guys are friends who travel together with Bobby Lashley and Sheamus, like together, that little group of 4, and Jinder Mahal as well. Sorry, but yeah, that's like a little clique, and there's no mention of that at all on television. And I said, why don't you mention that we were friends, and since I became WWE champion, we haven't spoken ever since, because Corbin thought he should be the champion first. And but I'm not underestimating him, because this is personal. I know how much he wants to beat me. I used to train with a guy. He's not a joke. Like, add a serious element to it, which he told me that he had tried to get that over the line with writers and whatnot, but they're more interested in just going down this path. And I think that's because you need to have this match on there where it fills out the card. You need to have this match where you give people time to breathe. And even as somebody who knows the guy, I think from every match that we've covered so far, and I know the guy, but at the same time, I have to do my job properly. That there isn't a match more likely where you would go to the bathroom.
This is the popcorn match, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to speak honestly about it. I mean, I wouldn't, because I know the dude, but like, I mean, for your neutral fan, yeah, you would go to the toilet.
I think you still would.
No, I wouldn't. But like, based
really?
on how this one, based on how
you're like, yeah, you're my buddy. I don't need to watch this. It's okay.
One time I fought with Bill about knowing Drew. Like,
oh yeah, you were like, you don't know him.
No, it's such a side thing, but it's really funny. I had Drew on the show a couple of times, and Bill, knows him obviously even more. And so, like, I didn't really know Bill, and we were on Twitter, and I said something just ridiculous. I was like, "Yeah, he's my best friend," or something like that. Like, I just said this, like, you know what I mean? Like I was just saying, I know him more than you do. Just being a prick, online. And do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Oh my God, we were in like this huge fight.
You guys had a little mini war just from that.
The irony of that story is that I worked with a guy called when I was on Steel Cage. I used to work with a guy called Derek, and
he was called Derek. Not his name, but he was called.
Yeah, he's still called Derek, and yeah.
Here's Derek. By the way, here is Derek. Here, listen.
My name is Derek Montilla, occasionally known as a big ass piece of.
There you go.
So what happened was that this guy, I had him on the show, and he contacted him and was like, "Oh, I'd love to have you. We'd love to have you on again. Like, come on my show," because they were starting to like branch off these like sub shows. Like, there was Steel Cage. I had the Dirty Sheets. He had to have a show because I had a show, because he's a real radio DJ in Arizona. So I can't have my own show if he hasn't got his own show. So he had to get him on for an interview like just after I had him on, and then he started like texting him or whatever. So when he won the belt, it was like the celebration of.
They had champagne. They were crying.
Yeah, it was like my brother has won the championship.
Yeah, he's like our friend, and he goes, I was so happy and going through the history, and then he was like, he texted me from Raw after he got beat up by Brock Lesnar, and we were like, oh my God.
That's how he said he texted me. He texted me as soon as the thing with Brock was done. That's how strong the love we share is.
Yeah, the love we share. The love we share.
That's how excited I felt. The same way, but I know him way less. I just pretended like he's been on the show twice. He texted me before, like, oh, he's been on my other shows. Like he's our guy. Like, and then Bill was like, shut up. You don't even know him or something like that. And I was like, you don't know him. And we just played. It was just we're messing around. But it was funny.
That's what I say when we talk to Bischoff. I go, my best friend, Eric Bischoff. We've talked to him twice.
I know. It's funny. Like,
it's always a joke.
I remember I had one. I give to who's the guy? Remember when Bischoff launched a website for like a second?
No,
there was a guy, Nick Hausman. Yeah. So
the Wrestle Zone.
Yeah, WrestleLink or whatever. So he was launching a site with Eric Bischoff, and Eric brought me and like JD on the call with him to like launch this site, and I kept saying in my head, I was like, this is like Patreon. Except no one's going to get it, I don't think. But, like, they had this whole idea, him and Nick or whatever, and we want you and JD. And I'm like, but we already have Patreons. So if we come onto your thing behind a paywall, and I was just trying to explain how I don't think it's going to work out.
Me and Nick had that. We were contacted by that guy and someone called Nick Paglino and Eric Bischoff, and we were put on a call with them as well about this, and we didn't understand that either. We didn't understand how we were going to get paid.
Yeah, that's exactly it. None of it made sense at all. And then it was like, well, but dude, like we all do our own paywall shows, so we would all have to come up with a new show that like nobody that it doesn't make any sense. And so anyway, but yeah, so I don't think it worked out. After like a couple months, the site went down or whatever. And I remember Nick Hausman. I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. I think he's on wrestling something now.
Was he pissed off at him because he talked about, didn't you tuck your shirt into your jeans or something? That's where they had a falling out when they used to do a podcast together. Yeah,
something about. Oh, that was. I've had a lot of these things. I don't know. Jim Cornette didn't like my hat being backwards and whatever.
Really, I've heard Jim Cornette like mention you one time before, but I was like, I didn't catch all of it or whatever, and I was like, wonder why he's mad at you. I didn't hear the whole.
I don't understand it either. I did a show with Kenny Bolin, and one of our podcasts didn't go up to iTunes in time, and Kenny flipped out and was like, "Oh, Joe Cronin," and then that triggered Jim Cornette, I guess, to be like, "You suck." And then I was trying to get Cornette on my show because him and Santino got in a fight, and they were fighting everywhere. And I said, "Hey, why don't you come on my show and we'll talk about it?" And I put like $signs on the tweet. Yeah. I tweeted him 2 or 3 times, and that was it. He was like, "No, you suck. You mark
Jesus."
Yeah. So,
yeah. When we fell out with when I fell out with Russo,
I was gonna say he did. I don't burn that.
Yeah, I wanted to. I haven't burned the bridge. He still talks to me now. But yeah,
God
I
knows
tried to
how. It's a man of God.
I tried to. I wanted to get Cornette or Bischoff on to replace Russo on his show, and I ended up getting Bischoff on. So that's how we ended up getting in contact with Bischoff. You know, I still talk to him now. Like, he doesn't come on the show, but like when Scott Hall died, I sent him this video of where he was cutting a promo, and someone throws a drink at Scott Hall's head, and Hall just like rubs it into his head.
Flicks it back.
Yeah,
that's good.
And he goes, thanks. He goes, thanks for that. I'll tweet it out. So yeah, he's still cool. Like, but you know, I don't get people on all the time, like, until it's like completely relevant. Like, I don't want to get Bischoff on like once a month because it'll lose all of its like appeal. So yeah.
I think Russo has muted me from life, so I don't know what happened, but yeah,
I'll tweet, I'll message him and go, hey, last time I tried to talk to him, I asked what he thought of the new Batman, but I didn't hear back.
Cav will talk. Cav and Russo will talk all the time, and then the conversation ends whenever Cav says, all right, so how about doing a show together? And then all of a sudden Russo will disappear for about 4 days and like pretend he hasn't read it. That's what he does.
Next time you tell him, I got $300, come do this show with me. That might work.
The thing is, he's always available. Like, he uses it as a job. So it's like you're 8 a.m. to whenever. And I'm like, I have a real life job. So I'm like, I would like to do this at 9 a.m., believe me, and get rid of the other job, but you can't do that. Smackdown Tag Team Championships. I think we all know how this will end. The Usos versus Boogs and Nakamura. I do enjoy Boogs' nonsense. I do like him. It is weird that he cut his hair out of the blue, and I'm like, they couldn't have done this in something. And now his T-shirt even has him with the ponytail. I assume obviously the Usos win this just to keep everybody in that little bloodline to have their titles.
Yeah, although they took him away before and brought him back. It's weird, but I agree with you, though. I would keep the belts on the Usos, keep that contingent as strong as possible. Hell, I would turn Boogs and Nakamura on themselves, and they should have had a hair versus hair match, but I guess that's not happening now.
There you go. What do you think, Billy?
Yeah, I think that they will turn on each other. I think Boogs will be the face, though, when they do that. But yeah, I think that's where it's going. I think you try and get 2 matches out of it, and the Usos win both, and then you do the turn, I think.
SmackDown Women's Championship. Joe gave us a little taste earlier, and this is Billy's dream girl, Charlotte Flair, versus Ronda Rousey. Charlotte is the champion. I'll say Ronda wins just because I figure, God forbid, they ever have Ronda lose anything. And you were saying you think Charlotte's going to win, Joe.
I'm going way outside the box. Yeah, this is.
I don't think it's crazy. But.
I think it's such a thing that, you know, Ronda should be winning and she's the good one. Finally, take it off Charlotte. But this is such an afterthought now. This match to me, like, it never got started the way and going the way I thought it could or would or whatever. And after that promo the other night, it feels like Ronda's heart isn't into it the right way. You know, normally when she goes spastic on her rants, I actually like them because she's so whacked out. But I don't know. Charlotte was very pro in what she was doing the other night, and Ronda was very just all over the place. And at this point, I think Ronda's just back for the WrestleMania thing. You know, that's about it.
What do you think, Billy?
Yeah, I think Ronda wins. I know she's not back for the WrestleMania thing. I know she's here till next year's WrestleMania. I know she's going from Mania to Mania, so she will be at next year's too. But I think she'll win, but then also the only way I see her losing is if they try to set something else up. So, I don't know, Becky loses her belt, she crosses path with Ronda backstage, and Ronda, like, laughs at her, and Becky then comes out and costs Ronda the match because Ronda laughed at her because she lost. Or, you know, in the other match, you could have Bayley interfere and help, because, you know, Bayley's out because of Bianca, so Bayley could help Becky, and then that takes Becky out, and that means Ronda wins by herself. So there's loads of scenarios, but I just feel that only one of these belts will flip. So I'm just more feeling Ronda winning, because I think it's just a bit of a harder sell as a person to turn around to Ronda and go, hey, are you cool losing? Are you cool coming back after a month and losing in front of like 98,000 people or whatever? I just feel it's a difficult conversation to have from someone who's not in the business. Like, I feel that Ronda came back to win, so I just feel she's going to win. I don't think they're going to f around with people who aren't, you know, the biz. Like, it's different telling Drew McIntyre or Seth Rollins or or Charlotte or Sasha, so your results changed. I don't think you could do it to Ronda Rousey. I just feel that that's not going to be a conversation they're going to have.
To wrap up,
by the way, just to add to that, she has been terrible every week on TV. Like, I don't know what's going on. I mean, first of all, she was doing the whole "I'm still a bad guy" thing back, and then they told her to stop it, and then it's like,
told her to smile.
Now she's being like the worst good guy. I just feel that like they're giving us so much to remember that they should just go out there and go, hey, talk about this, and that's it. And I feel that it'll look better than what they're trying to do. It's just overproduced, and she's not capable of doing it.
Yeah, she's a bullet point person. She's definitely not a script person. So even that, it's sending her off her mark. Because if they just gave her bullet points like they have before, that's where she's able to rant and rave however she wants to. But yeah, clearly she was frustrated by having to try to stay on a point the other night, I believe.
So to close out that first night, they have this be the last one that we would talk about for day one, and we'll get into day two. And this will be a good discussion because it's Austin versus KO, possibly. It's the KO show with special guest Stone Cold. So my thought is, obviously, I can't imagine that they sit down for 4 seconds to talk. I think Austin goes to the ring and starts beating the shit out of him, and they're brawling all over the building. And I don't know how this ends other than, okay, they finally get back to the ring and he gets stunned, Owens does, and gets beer poured on him. I would like it to be a match. You've said, Billy, that Austin is getting in shape and is in shape and everything like this, and there's no wellness for him. But I don't know where they're going with this still.
Why have they... Here's the weird thing. Why have they said it's his first time coming back in the ring in 19 years? Or at WrestleMania even, they've said that. It's like, well, he's been at WrestleMania before that. So there's something different. They're advertising it as something's different about this. And then at one point I went through my mind and thought maybe he's going to show up on the show and then challenge him to a match the next night. So now the KO show happens on night one, and night two is the actual match. I'm not here for a damn show. I'm here to whoop somebody's ass, and that's your ass. And then now you got a match happening. But so you could get him on 2 nights now, but otherwise KO will think it's a show, try to get out of a match because he just wants to do his show. And then it turns into a match. But I don't know. I don't know what it is either.
It's not a bad idea.
I like that. If you don't have a match, that was a hell of a bait and switch. If we just see a stunner and beer poured on a guy, I mean, we were lied to at that point.
Billy, what do you think?
Billy froze.
I think Billy is frozen, or he's just
that is a hell of a pose. That's a hell of a pose, man. Screenshot that.
I know. I was like, all right, there you go. You're back. What do you think about that whole idea, Billy?
Yeah, I mean, I thought all along that there was going to be a lot more because, I mean, he was told to get in shape. I just think I just feel the advertising is there to lower expectations. I feel that it was supposed to be a match, and I feel that somehow we get a match here. We definitely get a brawl with a definitive last man standing. But I feel that they've somehow convinced him to do a match just from the way that he's talking. And from what I was originally told that it was going to be a match. And also with the other angle that I've spoken about here and then been the only one to talk about it. There's a lot of money on the table for Stone Cold Steve Austin for Saudi. And Saudi have managed to get nearly everybody on their list. One of the only people they didn't get is Stone Cold Steve Austin. And the other one was Yokozuna because the Saudi guy had to be told that he was dead. But he did, which is a true story.
Wow.
They should have just dressed up some big guy.
Yeah. Just lie. They wouldn't know.
No. Aki Bono, maybe. But yeah, so they've this is what's in the future for him. And we've heard Brock mention him and Roman mention him, and that's a lot of money. Like the Saudi money for Steve Austin is more than everybody else. So if you're looking at that and you can get yourself into shape and you can do this brawl with Kevin Owens and it comes out fine, you're almost advertising your limitations and whilst you're also advertising what you can do. So whereas it's like, these are my limitations and this is what I can do, and you're using WrestleMania as an advertisement to your Saudi, to the Saudi people that want to pay you this money, and they sign off it and go, okay, we're fine with what we saw, then Stone Cold Steve Austin's going to be in Saudi Arabia, which is where the big money is really going to start to come in. So I know that's all. I know my inside knowledge is that that's all on the table for him, and I just feel that this is going to be a lot more than a match, because it's going to be a way to show them this is what you're paying for. Do you still want to pay for it? Okay, thank you. I'll take that money, please. So that's what I think.
Okay, let's get into night 2. Start moving through these. Bobby Lashley versus Omos. I don't think there's too much discussion. I think finally Omos loses because of what we saw on Monday, that Bobby barely could get him down to, his back. Oh my God, it's the first time he's been knocked off his feet. And I'm trying to think, did AJ not knock him off his feet at all that match? I couldn't
think so.
remember.
Down to a knee, maybe?
Maybe the knee. So yeah, I would think Lashley wins this. What do you think, Joe? Is Joe there?
There we go.
There you go, Joe.
Again. What was that again? I'm sorry.
What do you think? Who wins this?
I think Bobby Lashley's going to win. I think it's going to be. Well, you know what? I think it's Bobby Lashley. I think this is them using Bobby to, they're going to try to get him his win back. He kind of sunk down a little bit here. He got injured, those sort of things. Almost has been built up really well. But there were other people who thought Almost was going to. It's almost like they're building Almost up. You know what I mean? So that he can put somebody else over.
To lose.
Yeah, to lose. So he's being built up so that he can lose. Somebody can conquer him. And this could be the end of the guy, really, for the most part. This is probably the story of the end for him.
I was thrilled that they had a handicap match against the Viking Raiders and just killed. I'm like, this is a top tag team. He kills them in 4 seconds. I loved it. I can't stand them. Billy, what do you think on that match?
From what I know, it was always a case of we need to showcase Omos on this card and have him doing something big at this year's Mania, to the point where, if you recall, I told you they were having this match 4 months ago, and originally this was the match for the title where Omos was going to win the belt. So if he has that thought like his way, and with the Undertaker being his protector, which I don't know if Joe knows about that, but the Undertaker is very high on Omos, thinks he's the biggest attraction since Andre the Giant, and it's basically said to him that, if WWE are ever making you, if they're ever making you booking you to look too vulnerable, call me and I'll fix it for you. So wow. I think like with that guy in your corner, and he's going to be there as well, by the way. I think Omos is going over. But the one thing I do think might happen is that MVP goes with Omos, so Bobby Lashley doesn't lose. So MVP goes and helps Omos win against, screws Bobby Lashley. That's possible.
Yeah,
he can't speak. So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then he can say, that's a great idea. I love that.
That's the way.
I'm glad we're doing these now. So when I do my predictions, I'll have this all new.
I got an idea. MVP.
Great idea, and I'm not going to tell you it was Bill.
Raw Tag Team Championship, RK Bro versus Street Profits versus the Alpha Academy. I like a little bit of a salty Street Profit. When they're getting to be bad guys, I've liked what they've been able to do. Like, I think it's a completely different look when you hear Montez being a little bit dicky out there. So I'll say that the Street Profits win this and just become full-fledged bad guys here. You think, Joe?
Yeah.
After getting killed on Monday, too, by the way.
Yeah, they did get killed on the go-home show, which, would make you think Arcade Bro. And it's about time maybe that Arcade Bro, break up. But maybe I don't think they are going to break up, though. Even if they lose the belts, I feel like they're still going. But, I'm gonna go Street Profits, too, just because we're so face-heavy at this point. And also, there's a new look for them. There's a new vibe. They got to go one way or the other. But my worry is that they're just going to fall right back into faces again, when they have the belts. And, they really didn't get to experience what they, get into what they could do as heels. But, I had the Street Profits winning this as well.
Billy?
I think the Street Profits win on Raw.
Okay, next night.
I think you need... my understanding is that they are really trying to rectify that particular show in terms of the fact that it's lost its appeal, and there's a conscious effort to do things on it. I think I'm hearing that Balor and Priest was moved to Raw. So I
because they're in the Andre, right?
Yeah, when they were on WrestleMania. So now they're on Raw. So I feel like they're doing as much as they possibly can for that show, which is going to include, I think, that heel turn for the Profits. Or, I mean, it could go a different way. Profits could win at Mania, and it could be the heel turn of Randy Orton on Raw instead. But I feel that they can slow it down by having the Profits just turn heel first.
You don't think they will fool us and have it be Riddle who turns on Orton instead?
That's your thing, but I just don't see how he can do that.
Okay. Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. You know the whole cast of Jackass will be there, and I'm expecting a room full of mouse traps that somebody's going to roll around in. There's going to be nonsense left and right in here, and actually might be entertaining, to tell you the truth, because if it's just a live Jackass show, then it might be entertaining. I don't know if we're going to see Pontius's dick or what's going to go on, but I would, like Billy says, celebrities do not lose at Mania, so I will be saying Johnny Knoxville wins this match.
Yeah, I think the Jackass crew has to win here. But yeah, I hope it's entertaining. I hope it's funny and crazy and ridiculous. I hope it's better than I could think of. So
a pre-tape, they're running through the backstage and all kind of nonsense happens, so they can tape this ahead of time.
They shoot Johnny Knoxville out of a cannon to land on him for the cover.
I'm figuring someone's getting paintballs shot at them. They're pulling matchbox cars out of their asses. Something's going on.
My question is, not that long ago, he had a major head injury, and now he's at WrestleMania. I can't. Like, he was just on the Tonight Show. Yeah, like 3 months ago, he was like, "I have a massive head injury. Oh, now I'm going to go wrestle." You know, I don't know.
I mean, couldn't be worse than what he had to do with the catheter for a couple years.
Yeah,
breaking that up.
Is this going to be a cinematic type of match, though? I don't know, but yeah, that makes sense, right? I mean, this would be their only one of this WrestleMania after they had really been doing that since the Matt Hardy stuff.
Yeah. What do you think, Billy?
Yeah, I think if there's ever been a celebrity that could be on Mania and lose, it's him, because he's not one of these that come from sports. He's not like LT, or he's not anybody from combat sports. I mean, Logan Paul is from combat sports, whether you take it seriously or not. So Johnny Knoxville could afford the loss, and it could be from him doing a stupid stunt that he misses. Yeah. Like, he could still come out of this credibly by jumping in a ball of fire or whatever. Like, he could do something. But no, I still think celebrities don't lose. But I just think that he could lose in a way where he comes off looking good, where he does the stupid stunt that makes himself lose, the banana peel, whatever.
What if he's going to jump off a cell, and then Sami Zayn can say, "I killed Johnny Knoxville" for like weeks. We don't know where Johnny is.
There you go. He just disappears afterwards.
Yeah.
McAfee versus Austin Theory. I think they had it right when we had like Adam Cole versus McAfee, because I was like, they can't have McAfee beat a guy who's, I'm like, it's just so goofy to me. So I think Austin Theory wins this some way, somehow, but this is the big weird thing. Do we have McMahon helping and showing up? This is what is up in the air, and this is what Billy will probably shine more of a light on. I'll pick Austin Theory to win this, just if it's flat out, these two guys going. What do you think, Joe?
I think in some way, regardless of what happens, I would pick Theory to win. But in some way, I would think that he's going to try to go too far. You know what I mean? Even if he wins, he's going too far for McMahon somehow. Whatever that means, I don't know. Or even if he got disqualified, he went too far. So I'm not sure. But yeah, I would think Austin Theory would win this. I can't believe, that you would have Pat McAfee win. But, you could do almost anything here. But whatever it is, I think he's going to do something kind of out there. He'll do anything to win this match for McMahon's love or whatever the hell they're doing. But hopefully it'll be good. I'm hoping this is one of those ones that steals the show, somehow, or is massively entertaining more than it should be. So, yeah, Austin Theory.
Yeah, I mean, it was when it was Cole and McAfee, it was shockingly actually a good match. So, yeah. What do you think, Billy? This is your big shining... What you think's going to happen?
Well, that's the thing. You be right about everything, and you'll be like, hell to this. But this is just from previous information where I was told, that Vince was going to be wrestling on this show, and I was told it was all part of the conclusion to the documentary. So, whatever they've announced and whatnot, I'm not going to change from that. I still think that whatever this is, it ends with Vince McMahon pinning Pat McAfee. Whatever the end of it is, I think Vince pins Pat McAfee.
What if Austin loses and then McMahon comes out and says that now it's a tag team match?
Show you
how to do it. Yeah, I'll show you how to get it done.
Or maybe this is a gauntlet, Joe, like where he beats him and Shane, or maybe it's like a handicap match or whatever. So I don't know, but I just feel that in the end that's what will end up happening. I just don't think there's any way that Vince isn't out here for this with his tank top on doing something.
And you think it's a tank top, that sweatshirt hiding.
Yeah, and you're right about all this stuff. Seeing Vince as much as we have everywhere in first interview and all these other things, he's coming out at WrestleMania for something. And there's like you said, there's no doubt about it. He's coming out there. He wouldn't have been on TV this much unless he was doing something.
Every time I hear him, I clear my throat while he talks. I go crazy from it.
Yeah.
Women's tag team match. This is Queen Zelina and Carmella, the champions, versus Naomi and Sasha, versus Rhea and Liv Morgan, versus Natalya and Shayna. And I was like, you know what? Seth should have just interfered in Roman and Brock's match, and he would have been put in a WrestleMania match, because that's all you got to do to get into Mania, apparently, is just interfering. I don't know why he's going through all this. I will say the champions retain here, just because this is a Mod Podge of let's make tag teams and put them together, and this is really a who gives a shit match for me. Totally, I really don't care. What do you think, Joe?
If it's is this on the pre-show? Do we know? Or we don't know.
No, I think it's on the show.
It's on the real show. I mean, then I will stick with the champions retaining, because nobody really knows what's going on here. Nobody cares. This is just, I think it's just get everybody on the show. You know,
and Sasha should be stuck with a tag belt.
Yeah, no, like that's just. And her and Naomi are the ones I would think if you want the happy ending or whatever, right? Because they're kind of creating this buzz around themselves right now a bit. But no, I'm going to stick with Zelina and Carmella retaining.
Billy?
That does make sense, because, I mean, we can't have every women's belt changing, and Bianca and Rousey are favorites. But the only thing I have is, a few weeks ago, WWE's Twitter posted a graphic, and it was Sasha Banks' WrestleMania record, and it's 0-6. And wow. I just feel that the company don't make light of that and let you know that she's going 0-7. It's a very odd thing to do. Go, hey, she's 0-6, and that's in your mind. And then he's like, oh, she lost again. She's complete trash. So yeah, I just once you've put that out there into the universe, and you know, because you guys just act surprised, right? So there was no need for me to tell you, like there was no need for them.
Wouldn't even have known.
Yeah, I didn't notice either. But it's true.
Bad,
so,
but
yeah.
Don't you save her first win? You save her first win for that big match, right? Where it's like, and you haven't won at WrestleMania, and you're facing me for the title, like, so that you want to have her first win be even more special, right?
I think we would if we were booking it, but I think for them it's a case of they've now told you what's what, and I feel that like they'll get that, you know, get that done. Like they'll just get that one there. I don't think it's good for Sasha if her streak is she keeps losing till she wins a big match. I think obviously this has happened by accident, and these belts don't mean anything for me. Chemistry wise, it seems like Liv and Rhea Ripley have less to do after this, and they seem like more of a tag team. Like, you know, there's the way that they're gelling and whatnot, basically with their borderline as that we see, and Rhea obviously looking like. But yeah, I just feel it's going to be Sasha and Naomi. It's an easy thing to do. Whenever you can put belts on people, you'll take that opportunity as well. Like
they're also again, Naomi's one of those people that the fans are always like, she deserves to win.
Yeah.
And Sasha has her fan base, so it does make sense. Like, here, have these belts. Get out of here, you know. And that's how
and I think very quickly after that, you could have Sonya and somebody beat them as well, because Sonya's got that thing with Naomi and whatnot. So you could have Sonya and somebody. You could bring a new person up through NXT, or
bring Mandy back with her.
That's something you could do. Yeah, I mean that'd be rushed, but yeah, you could. I mean, I think Mandy's above being in a tag team now, but you could certainly do something with somebody where Sonya wins the belt with someone.
2 matches left, and we're out of here, kids.
Ooh.
Edge versus AJ Styles. You know, for as much stuff, it's like a lot of stuff has happened, but I don't think anything's happened. Like they had the one attack, and there was zero reason for it. And Edge has gone through all these promos where I don't know what he's even said. And he's in a blue light and just gone, we've gone in different companies and won the best sides. I'm like, why are you angry? I don't know why you're mad. What's going on here?
His second promo a little bit explained it, right? A little bit the second one did. But, you know, Owens is cutting promos on a guy that's not there, and so isn't Seth. And it feels like Edge is too.
So I would say AJ Styles wins this because it's always, you know, you got to get your revenge for just being beaten up. And I laughed because a couple weeks ago where it was Rollins going against AJ for a spot. And AJ said to the powers that be, so why are you doing this? No, don't answer that. I'm just going to win this match. I'm like, because they had nothing to say back. They had nothing written to tell him back. There is no reason for why you would do that. Oh, you're having a blood feud? Nah, maybe we'll just give that to Rollins and you don't have a match. But this is...
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. It shows you how weak the stories are because remember when Randy Savage was bitten by the snake?
Yep.
Right?
Best
so,
thing ever.
Can you imagine they're having that feud and it's a proper built-up feud and they're having a match at like WrestleMania 8, which they didn't, or Tuesday in Texas, and someone says, oh, you know, if you want to keep your match with Jake the Snake this Tuesday, then you see what I mean? Then you need to beat the model Rick Martel you're not even feuding with because he had a feud with Jake the Snake where he turned him blind and he randomly just wants another shot at him this week. So Randy Savage has to beat the model Rick Martel to make sure he still faces Jake in this blood feud on Thursday. It's so stupid. Like the storylines. They say, why was it? Oh, it's that people say, oh, you only think it's better because nostalgia is better. No, it's not better because of nostalgia. It's better because it's better. Because
makes sense.
Because logic is better. Yeah.
They put his whole feud on hold so they could tell you how great whatever was going on with Seth is going on. It was so weird. Like, hey, Seth is the most important thing. You just tried to murder this guy, like, but whatever. Who cares?
I'm surprised we didn't have like Edge go to the powers that be and go, no. What is this? No. I want this guy. This is.
It's a way to blend the stories together. Like I don't. Did you pick someone already? I didn't remember.
I'd said AJ will win. What do you think?
Oh yeah. So I'm actually gonna pick Edge because I don't understand. He just turned heel. He just said he never wins and blah blah blah. So I gotta believe that he wins and does something crazy. Like maybe he does something to AJ on the steps outside or something and bashes his face, and that way he can go on with this, with this momentum of being a crazy heel, and he's unhinged heel Edge. But if he loses here, it's like, oh, you just lose. It doesn't matter what you do, you always lose.
Matter. Yeah. What do you think, Billy? Who's winning?
Yeah, I think Edge, new character, wins. Yeah, you normally just take the new character. But yeah, I feel that this is one that you'll get at WrestleMania Backlash again. I feel this could be one of the rematches.
The last match, which I think we're all just in agreement with, so it ends with a dud here, but it's going to be the most, this is the match that is wanting to see because they've had the longest storyline at least and build up and everything. It's title for title. And, did they even say that it is unification or just title for title? I can't remember. They seem to almost switch this.
Well, they said unification because Brock said how their two belts were going to have a baby. So maybe it makes the winged eagle after it mates. Let's hope.
Oh, that'd be great. Make it a little bigger, but make it the winged eagle, but a little bigger version of it. I'd like that.
You like the Triple H one, that big round one? That wasn't for me too much.
I didn't love that one, but no, I like that a lot better than what they have now. That stupid.
Yeah.
WW,
that's like we don't know who they are. It's like, hey, everyone, this is our and I'm like, I get it when they're giving it to baseball teams so everyone sees their company. It's like we got it. Everybody thinks wrestling is WWF anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, that's all of our
100%.
Even that's we're going to bring back the IC belt because it's so iconic that at this point, the lineage is so strong that whatever it is now, it just doesn't work. Looks like a couple of drum cymbals were put on the belt or something.
Yeah, it is odd, and tag team. We shouldn't even get into that. Rounded, none of the belts matter. None of the belts matter, so it doesn't even matter what it looks like. Because I'm glad it looks like
because if it looked good and they were treating it like this, it would be that much worse. So until they're ready to treat the belt the right way, fine, leave it looking like that and bring back the good one when you're ready to go.
Yeah, I was trying to think. It took me a second. I'm like, who's the U.S. champion? Oh, yeah, that just happened, but now they're in the Andre Battle Royal instead, and the IC title's not on WrestleMania. That shows you something where that was my title back in the day. That IC was mine. So Roman Reigns, I would think, wins this. Like we said, we think he will be undefeated for a real long time. Not undefeated, but you know what I mean. I would think all the way until next WrestleMania. What do you think, Joey?
Yeah, unless somebody blows up over the summer or something happens that we don't know about. But even then, I think they'll want them to win the Royal Rumble. And you know, it reminds me of like Daniel Bryan when he blew up. If Cody Rhodes blows up and people love Cody Rhodes,
sure.
Are they going to hold him back because they've got their mindset on Braun Breaker? So is it all?
I wouldn't put it past them.
Right? Yeah. So, but unless somebody takes over or something comes of that, then no, Roman Reigns will be champion until at least next WrestleMania.
Billy?
Yeah, I think Roman Reigns back-to-back WrestleManias. Yeah, I think he'll win this year. To go with last year, and then we'll get a third, I think, as well. I think The Rock will lose to him. I don't see the point. I don't see where you go if you give it to The Rock either.
I know. I agree with the don't give it to The Rock thing either, but they've proved me wrong with the whole Punk thing when that happened, where it could have been title versus streak, and they completely screwed that up, where I would have much rather seen that, but they have a guy who comes in for 3 months, win the title, because then it's against Cena. So I think that's it. We have done our WrestleMania preview, and we're going to have all the festivities this weekend. Billy's been trying to get over here, but he's having flight problems, so he can't get to WrestleMania, even though he bashes and goes, oh, this sucks. Who would want to do this? What? Good Lord.
Oh, my God, let's go the bomb. The bomb's going off.
I can't get over there because of this stupid vaccine thing. That's it. Like, I've been trying to find like good fakes and things for the last 2 days.
Joe, if he gets in this country with a fake pass, we're calling the services on him. I'm like, we're already bombed.
I'm right there. See, you're on the wrong side. I'm right near him. You can just sail over here because I'm right on the East Coast. Actually, where I just moved 3 years ago. I used to look out my window down the street and it would be right across, right over to England, like over that area. So is that where you are right now? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in London. Yeah,
you're in London. Yeah, so like I was looking right out at you all the time. It was just very far away down the street from me.
It was very foggy. It was hard to see.
It was foggy. Yeah.
I was in New York. Like the last year that we could travel, I was in New York 5 times that year. Like going into New York and New Jersey, watching things. WrestleMania 35. I went to the Money in the Bank, which was in Connecticut, like a couple of months later.
You're real close to me then. Yeah. Yeah. Don't go to New York. We don't like them here. Don't go there.
And I was going to say, Joe.
I'm in Boston.
No.
Sir.
Yeah.
So you know who's Joe's favorite quarterback? You think, Billy?
Brady. Obviously Brady.
The guy who destroys Rodgers every time. And the real GOAT. I'm a big Brady guy, and he goes crazy from it because I'm a Bears fan. But I appreciate greatness, is what I appreciate.
Rodgers and CM Punk brush their teeth the same way. I don't know what's going on with those two. They look so healthy yet look so crippled. Like they look like I think they're. But no, I like Rodgers a lot though. I really do like him. It's too bad he should have had a couple more too. But it sucks that we don't have Brady. But I'm still kind of cheering for him. But bro, I grew up with the Patriots sucking. So until I was 15 years old, 16 years old, the Patriots just sucked. So.
It's my only Super Bowl win is against the Patriots.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was like 5 when the Bears beat the shit. I was like, we lost to the Bears. I'm like, yeah, it was like the best team. Like,
yeah, that's my claim to. I'm one of those Chicago guys that will never let go of the '85 Bears.
Well, then we lost to Green Bay in '96. So
yeah, McMahon's 2 Super Bowl championships against the Patriots. So where do we find you, Joe? Where's our best way to find you? And people could subscribe. Is there any Patreon stuff too, or what's going on?
Patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show. But I mean, obviously go to Joe Cronin Show on YouTube. Watch me, see what you like, see what you don't like. And then if you really like it, then you can support on Patreon. But yeah, Joe Cronin Show on YouTube.
All right. So you can see all this. I don't want to move this again and break it like we just did. But yeah, like all this like sort of
don't touch it, Billy.
There's all this like nostalgic WrestleMania stuff at the back. So I feel like that we've lost the link over the last few years, it feels less and less like this is the event that Hogan was in or that Austin won the belt in or whatever. But the WWE then this week released a list of the 38 best WrestleMania moments. And it feels like, yeah, they've remembered some of the big ones, but they have gone down that path where they, Savage winning the title and that is not high up here in this. Like
it's
Savage,
more new stuff, that nobody cares about.
Yeah, like Kofi winning the title is at number 7. And Rey Mysterio winning the belt at number 9. And Randy Savage and Elizabeth reuniting at WrestleMania 7, but not Savage winning the belt in the top 10. So the top 5 moments here are Shawn Michaels beating Bret Hart, the Boyhood. Then you got Becky winning the first women's main event at number 4. Andre Hogan is at 3. Seth Rollins cash-in is at 2. And me and Cav were both at that. And I don't think either of us will have it at number 2 all time. I'm not sure.
Not 2, no.
Brock Lesnar ending the streak at 1. So just to finish on a fun thing, as we're all old school, I wanted to get your guys' top 5s.
Oh God! See, this is where you have to tell me ahead of time to have a top 5.
No,
I can shoot out 2 or 3.
I don't want to get you ahead of time. That's the whole point. Like I want you to. Just, what will really come to your mind will be really what you remember.
My first one to really remember is Hogan slamming Andre, Warrior beating Hogan, the streak being broken by Brock is a big deal, and then it kind of blurs for me. The TLC match was pretty good. I don't know if that's a moment, but I mean
so
that
the spear is a moment.
Yeah.
If you want to take,
but things that like those were the couple that pops in my head immediately, and you always think, of course, like possibly the greatest match ever that they say is Macho Man and Steamboat, but I still think the best match ever is Taker and Shawn. That was my favorite.
But this is the thing. You've made the mistake where you've mixed matches and moments, which are not the same thing. So I'm gonna jump to Joe and then I'll do mine and I'll let you go last because
I think in my brain I'm making the mistake of the matches as well.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because moments, I mean, like rather than Shawn and Brett, moments to me is like, when Shawn entered the ring, coming down from the ceiling on the wire thing, like that was kind of crazy. I didn't expect that. Austin and Brett at Mania 13.
But that's not a moment either, right?
Not a moment.
but the bleeding is
blood. Yes,
right.
The screaming, the blood, the face, the slam from Andre and Hogan. I think the spear off the ladder in that TLC match. That's the moment there. Jeff hanging from the belt and everything. Things like Shane getting. Oh no, that's actually not even WrestleMania. So no, that's not a moment. I don't mind the Macho Man Elizabeth thing. That was a pretty big thing at the time, but I don't know if it's top 5 or whatever it was. Roddy Piper being half black was kind of a moment. Bad
news with a possum in his
big boss man being hung was a hell of a moment. I don't know if you got that. As a kid, like our 15-year-old, I was like, oh, they just killed him, I think. Yeah, but no. So I mean, I'd have to have time to think about. I think Rock and Hogan with that sort of stare down in the crowd.
Stare down.
That's the top 3 at some point too. So that's right there with the Andre slam with Hogan. So I can throw them out loosely, but we'd have. So I think I've got 3 or 4 together there. But
yeah.
All right. So do you want me to go first, and then you guys can do an actual list if you can pull one together?
Well, I put down 4 together. Yeah, that's the best I'm given. Go ahead.
All right, so I'm gonna go with Brock winning against Undertaker as number 1 because I was there and I saw people's reactions and I saw men crying afterwards and everything, and I've never really been around anything like that, and it was so subdued afterwards. So I'm gonna go for that as number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna go for Hogan slamming Andre because I think that's the iconic moment, and the streak ending had to be the only thing I think that pushed that out. So I'm gonna go for that. Number 3, I'm going to go with Austin bleeding because whereas they tell you that it was Austin 316, the speech, I don't think it was. I think the real catapult was Austin bleeding and leaving that WrestleMania with that. So I'm going to go with that as number 3. Number 4, I'm going to go with Seth's cash in. I think it's in the top 5 just because they needed an out. They needed an out at that WrestleMania, and everybody had this thing in their mind that Roman was winning because it was going to be Roman's crowning moment that nobody wanted. And then they got that out, and I think everybody was just overjoyed. And there actually isn't a load of Manias that I went to where people were happy with the end. I had a load of Manias where John Cena won at the end and nobody wanted that. And I had, obviously, the Daniel Bryan one was great. And then you had 32 where Roman won at the end, and 33 and Roman wins at the end. So it's difficult to finish Mania on that high where people leave with a buzz. And I think that was the case. Number 5, I had one in my head, but it just popped out.
Bundy smashing the midgets.
I got one that popped into my head that I was thinking of was, even Shawn Michaels ending Ric Flair's career.
Sorry, that was it. That was it. Yeah. I'm sorry. Because I was there as well at that. I'm sorry. I love you.
I'm sorry. I love you too.
Is number 5. So yeah, that's mine.
For what I wrote quickly too is I don't even know if it's a moment, but when Shawn is the referee in that one match and like struggling with himself as Taker and Triple H are killing each other, and he's like, end the match. That's fun, but I don't know where you would have that be a moment. But I have cash in number 5 because I certainly did jump up when that was like, oh my god. The stare down with Rock and Hogan, ending the streak number 3. Warrior beating Hogan 2 and the Andre Slam as number 1. I mean, it's how they open these shows now with the Andre Slam to open every show. So it's still a big deal that, even though that wasn't really the first, but never mind that.
Yeah, I'd have to eliminate 1 from mine now that I look at it. 3, 4, 5, 6, because now I've got 7. But I mean, Hogan slams Andre. You might. Oh man, it's hard to say. The Brock beats Taker is huge. Seth Cashin. HBK, I love you. That's 5, but then that would leave off Austin. So you know what? I would actually put, for me, I think I would put Austin bleeding at Mania 13 above that. So I'd have Austin bleeding at Mania 13, Seth's cash in, Brock beats Taker, The Rock and Hogan stare down, Hogan slams Andre, and I mean, I think that's.
Is that your order? Is that your order? Austin bleeding's number 1.
No, I don't think that's my order.
That's the bottom.
No, it's towards the bottom, yeah. But
that's your reverse order then.
It's my reverse. Yeah, I didn't put it in a good order for you, but there's other things too. Like even like as a kid, I'd put like people hated it, but I liked it as a kid. I was 8 years old, and the Warrior came down at the end of Mania 8, and that was kind of a fun moment for.
I remember that. I talked about that for weeks. Like I talked about that for ages. Like when Warrior came back, you didn't see that coming. I wasn't in the dirt sheets when Hogan beat Yokozuna and Bret Hart told him to go in the ring. And there wasn't that outrage that there is now. It's like, oh my God, how can they do that? Bret Hart had the belt for so long and Hogan just stole it. Like, I'm like 10 years old, so what do I care?
I loved that too. I loved it too when that part,
At Mania 9, Hogan coming out is similar to me to Seth. Like, I know that's people wouldn't say that. They would say it was a tragedy, a travesty. But as a kid, I was kind of like, okay, Bret Hart could beat Yokozuna. Okay, now he doesn't. But then, Hogan's, wow. So that same feeling as a 9-year-old is kind of what I had when, Seth cashed in during that cash-in that we talked about. Very similar feeling.
And I also like the fire table. No one talks about the fire table, like the moment where, with and the heel turn again. Like Austin's, they almost try to forget that Austin turned heel, but the handshake at the end of 17. If you look at that feud being the thing that generated the most money for the company, and then it culminates with him actually joining him. That's still a big moment. Whether it worked or not is irrelevant to the size of the moment. So I think these are all things to consider for the top 10. It's a show that we can maybe do in the future with more planning. But there's loads of shows like that. There's your actual top 10 Mania matches. There's your top 10 Mania moments. There's your Rushmore conversation. And that always kind of changes whether it's your wrestling Rushmore, which is the one that Ric Flair gets into, or your WWE Rushmore, which is the one where Ric Flair is anywhere near it. So, So yeah,
we could do our reverse top 5, the biggest disasters from Mania. Get those couple things in there.
There might
All
be
right.
one this year.
Yeah, let's wait. Yeah, because we might get it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Hope you enjoyed the show. It's a long one, but it was a fun one on our end, so we hope you enjoyed it too. I'm Cav. That's Joe. That's Billy. See you next time.